Let me ask you this. What if I told you that a single penny, yes, you heard me right, just a single penny, could be worth over $2 million? Sounds like a fairy tale, right? But this isn't a story about magic. It's about one specific penny, the 1973 D. Abraham Lincoln penny. Now, before you go running to your piggy bank, let's dive in and talk about how this coin went from your everyday pocket change to a treasure worth a fortune. And trust me, it's more than just the luck of the draw. Stick around, because I'm about to share some insider tips on how you can spot one of these bad boys and maybe, just maybe, turn a pocket full of pennies into a small fortune. So, grab a seat and let's get into it. All right, let's break it down. First off, I want to take you back to 1973, a year that, frankly, feels like it was yesterday to some of us and a lifetime ago to others. This year was loaded with historical moments, but one that might have slipped under your radar was the release of the 1973 D. Lincoln penny, a penny that, today, could make you a millionaire. Now, if you're thinking, wait a second, all pennies are worth the same, right? I get it. You probably have a drawer full of them. I mean, we've all been there, dumping out that jar of change, hoping for a quick buck, only to find a few dirty, scratched-up coins with no real value. But here's where things get interesting. The 1973 D. Lincoln penny is special. It's not just the usual copper-colored, unremarkable penny we toss into our wallets. This coin has some unique characteristics that make it stand out. For starters, it's a minting error. Now, if you've been following the world of rare coins, you know that errors are gold mines. And this penny? It's a minting error that turned it into a rare find with a current market value of $2.10 million. Now, let's break down the why of it all. In 1973, the U.S. Mint produced the standard Lincoln penny, but there was a hiccup in the production process. Some of the pennies that were struck in Denver, that's the D mint mark we're talking about, had a slight misalignment in the die. This misalignment resulted in a unique, irregular strike on the coin. And while most of these went into circulation without anyone blinking an eye, some of them survived the years in mint condition, which is what makes them so valuable today. Here's where it gets a little crazy. Over the years, as people started catching wind of these error pennies, they began to pop up in collector circles. Experts and dealers quickly realized that the value of these pennies wasn't just a few cents more than face value. It was hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions. In fact, there have been cases where a 1973 D. Lincoln penny in perfect condition has fetched as much as $2.1 million at auction. That's right, million with an M. Well, first, it's the error in minting. The thing about error coins is that they're just, well, rare. We're talking about a 1 in a million kind of coin, literally. And with the 1973 D penny, you need a few things to line up for it to be worth top dollar: the condition of the coin, the visibility of the error, and of course, how much collectors are willing to pay for it at any given moment. Now, I know what you're thinking. Great, but how do I find one of these gold mines? Well, my friend, that's the million-dollar question, literally. But here's the good news. If you know what to look for, you might be able to spot one in your pocket change, at a yard sale, or even in that dusty old jar of pennies sitting in your closet. And trust me, you won't be the only one out there searching. Let me tell you a quick story about my first big coin discovery. It wasn't a $2 million penny, but it was a pretty sweet find that made me a believer in the world of rare coins. I was at a flea market one weekend, just browsing around, when I stumbled upon a little old lady selling a box of random coins. Most of them were old nickels and pennies, the kind you'd find in your grandmother's junk drawer. But something caught my eye, a 1943 steel penny sitting there, not looking like much. I asked the lady how much she wanted for it, and she said, "Oh, a buck or two." Now, I didn't know the exact value of a 1943 steel penny at that moment, but I had a gut feeling. Turns out, it was worth quite a bit more. After doing some quick research, I realized that coin was worth several $100s. It's moments like those that keep me excited about coin collecting, because you never know when the next big find is around the corner. So, while finding a 1973 D. Lincoln penny might not happen every day, the key is knowing what you're looking for and being patient. It's not just about luck, it's about understanding the market, doing your research, and having an eye for those rare coins that other people might overlook. All right, folks, let's wrap this up. The 1973 D. Lincoln penny is a shining example of how a simple mistake at the U.S. Mint can lead to a small fortune for those savvy enough to spot it. If you've got a coin collection, or heck, even a jar of pennies lying around, you might want to take a closer look. You could be sitting on a gold mine without even realizing it. Now, before you go running to search for that elusive $2.1 million penny, let me remind you, coin collecting is a journey. Not every penny is going to turn into a $1 million jackpot, but the thrill of the hunt is half the fun. And who knows? Maybe the next rare coin you find could be the one that makes you a millionaire. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more tips on coins worth money, strategies for collecting, and the ins and outs of the coin world, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Don't miss out on more hidden treasures and insider secrets that could change your life. You won't believe what I've got to tell you today. Imagine finding a coin in your pocket change worth over $2 million. Sounds like something out of a dream, right? Well, let me introduce you to the 1976 D. Abraham Lincoln penny, and trust me, this little copper beauty packs more value than most people could ever imagine. Now, before you start checking your pockets or diving into your coin jars, let me set the record straight. I'm not talking about some random penny that's been through the wash a few times. This is a special one, a coin that's actually worth $2.2 million. So stick around, because by the end of this video, you're going to have your eyes peeled for this hidden gem that might just be sitting in your collection, or even in your spare change. Let's dive in. All right, first things first, let's talk about what makes the 1976 D. Abraham Lincoln penny so special. You know how every coin has that little mint mark on it? Well, the 1976 D penny is the one with the D mint mark, meaning it was struck in Denver. But before you go running to your drawer looking for any old 1976 pennies, you need to understand what sets this one apart from the hundreds of others out there. Now, a lot of people don't realize that pennies, especially those from specific years, can actually be worth a whole lot more than their face value. When I first started collecting coins, I didn't really believe it. In fact, I remember finding a handful of pennies from the 70s at a garage sale once. I figured, hey, it's just pennies. What's the worst that could happen? Well, guess what? Some of those pennies were worth a lot more than the 10 cents I spent on them. But back to the 1976 D. Abraham Lincoln penny. So what makes it worth $2.2 million? It's a mix of rarity, condition, and the right kind of collectors looking for specific coins. The 1976 D penny was minted as part of the bicentennial celebrations for the United States, and only a limited number of these coins were produced with certain features. The one you're looking for has to meet a very specific set of criteria, like being in uncirculated condition, meaning it has to look brand new, without any signs of wear. The more pristine it is, the higher the value. Let me tell you, these types of pennies don't just pop up on eBay every day. In fact, there have been stories of collectors finding this exact coin in the most unexpected places, like in the bottom of a coin jar or even a wallet they'd forgotten about for years. In fact, that brings me to a funny little story of my own. A few years back, I was at a coin show, just a regular day looking for new pieces for my collection, and I overheard someone talking about the 1976 D penny. They mentioned how rare it was and how it was going for crazy prices. I couldn't help but feel a little smug since I already had a 1976 D penny in my collection. I thought, oh yeah, I know what I've got here. So, after the show, I took out my collection to give that penny another look. I started comparing it to the one in my coin book, and I swear, my heart nearly stopped when I realized it wasn't in the mint condition I thought it was. It had a couple of little scratches. Ugh, talk about a missed opportunity, right? But hey, I still learned a valuable lesson. Always check your coins closely, and even then, don't get too cocky about what you think you have. The lesson here, folks, is that even the slightest imperfections can drop the value of these coins dramatically. So, if you've got a 1976 D penny, don't just stash it away. Take a good look at it and make sure it's in the best condition possible. And if it is, well, who knows? You could be looking at a payday that could make you rethink your whole coin collection strategy. So, how can you tell if your penny is worth this insane amount? Well, here's the deal. Only a perfect penny, especially one with that shiny, uncirculated finish, can fetch that kind of price. That means no dings, no rust, no discoloration. This is a coin that's practically flawless. So, now you know a little more about the 1976 D. Abraham Lincoln penny and what makes it so valuable. Who would have thought, right? A penny, that little copper coin that most people throw away or forget about, could end up being worth millions of dollars if you're just starting to collect or are already a seasoned collector. This is the kind of story that should get you excited and curious about your own coin collection. Don't overlook those seemingly common coins. One could be hiding in your collection right now. Before I go, though, here's the most important part. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If you enjoyed hearing about how you might be sitting on a gold mine without even knowing it, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can get more tips on coins worth money, collecting strategies, and all the other secrets the world of numismatics has to offer. Trust me, you won't want to miss out. And who knows, maybe the next time we meet, you'll be the one telling me about how you found your own 1976 D penny worth a cool $2.2 million. Have you ever gone through your pocket change and thought, I wonder if any of these coins are worth a fortune? Well, buckle up because today we're talking about one little penny that could have you rethinking your entire coin jar. You won't believe how much a 1984 D. Abraham Lincoln penny is worth. Hint, it's a jaw-dropping $2.3 million. Yeah, you heard that right, $2.3 million for a penny. Now, I know what you're thinking, there's no way, it's just a penny, right? Well, stick around and let me take you through this wild ride of pennies and profits. And before you say it, no, you're not going to find this kind of cash by just checking your couch cushions. But I'm going to show you how this little coin made its way to a seven-figure price tag and how you might just be sitting on a hidden treasure. So grab your magnifying glass and let's dive in. All right, let's break this down. The 1984 D penny, produced by the Denver Mint, looks like your average penny, doesn't it? It's got Abe Lincoln on one side, the Lincoln Memorial on the other. But this isn't just any 1984 D penny, it's one of those rare misprints that can make collectors go wild. What sets this penny apart is a rare minting flaw, making it a super valuable coin in the right condition. Now, let me take you back to a time when I was going through my old change jar. I've always had a soft spot for coins, and one day, I decided to go on a little treasure hunt through some old pennies I had collected over the years. I found pennies from the 60s, 70s, and even some 80s. I thought, hey, maybe I can sell these and make a quick buck. Little did I know that while I was over there sorting through some boring, run-of-the-mill pennies, there was a real gem hiding in plain sight. You see, the thing about the 1984 D penny is that there's a tiny, but crucial, detail you've got to look out for. The coin we're talking about is known for a major die crack error, which gives it a unique look. The die crack goes through the T in Liberty and extends down into Lincoln's cheek. It sounds small, but it's the kind of flaw that sets the coin apart from the millions of other pennies made that year. And because this penny didn't get corrected, it became the ultimate collectible. Collectors out there are hunting for these pennies because of that imperfection. And the more you learn about it, the more you'll realize just how rare this little mistake really is. Of course, you can't just find one of these on your typical Sunday afternoon trip to the grocery store, but it's not completely impossible. So, if you've got a jar of pennies collecting dust, it might be worth sorting through them. You could be holding on to one of the most valuable pennies in the world. How do I spot this coin if I find one? Well, I've got you covered. The D mint mark on the 1984 penny means it came from the Denver Mint, so that's the first thing to check. As I mentioned earlier, the die crack error is one of the key features that makes this penny valuable. Look carefully for that line cutting through Liberty and down into Lincoln's face. Even a rare penny won't be worth much if it's been through the ringer. The better condition the penny is in, the more it's worth. So make sure you're looking for one that's been kept in good shape. Coins like these are graded based on their condition. A coin in mint condition is going to be worth a lot more than one that's seen better days. You'll want to get a professional coin grader to take a look if you think you've found something valuable. Well, this bad boy can fetch up to $2.3 million if you find one in the right condition. That's right, $2.3 million for a penny. That's like finding a needle in a haystack. But hey, it's happened before. I know this might sound crazy, but these things happen more often than you think. There are people out there who found coins like this in the most unexpected places. There's even a story of someone who bought a penny collection at a yard sale for a couple of bucks and found a rare 1984 D penny among the bunch. They sold it for a small fortune, and now they're living the dream. I mean, come on, who doesn't want to find a hidden gold mine in their loose change? All right, guys, here's where it gets real. If you've got a jar of pennies or even a handful of loose change, you might just have a gold mine hiding there. So, what are you waiting for? Start going through your collection, grab a magnifying glass, and see if you have a rare 1984 D penny with that sweet die crack error. It's like a treasure hunt in your own home. Now, if you're excited about finding rare coins and learning more about how to spot coins worth money, then do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Trust me, you don't want to miss out on future videos where I'll be sharing more tips, strategies, and stories about coins that could make you a millionaire, or at least put some extra cash in your pocket. And, hey, if you find a coin worth millions, don't forget to come back and tell me about it. I'd love to hear your success story. So go ahead, dive into your coin collection, and remember, one man's pocket change is another man's jackpot. Ever wondered if a penny could actually make you a millionaire? Sounds like one of those wacky get-rich-quick schemes, right? Well, hold on to your hats because today we're talking about a very special penny, one that could be worth a whopping $2.4 million. Yup, you heard that right, $2.4 million for a single penny. It's the kind of thing that makes you want to take a second look at every penny you've ever tossed into a jar. I know. It sounds like I'm making this up, like some wild story I tell at family gatherings. But trust me, this is the real deal. Today, we're diving into the 2002 no-mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny and why it's sending shockwaves through the numismatic world. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you might be looking at your spare change in a whole new light. But before we jump in, let me tell you a quick story about my own coin collecting journey. A few years back, I found a dusty old penny lying in my garage. I thought it was just a regular penny, but something told me to hold on to it. Well, I did. Turns out, it wasn't worth millions, but it did get me hooked on the idea that sometimes treasure is hiding in plain sight. Fast forward to today, and I'm here talking to you about a penny that could make you a fortune. Coin collecting? Totally a wild ride. All right, let's get down to business. The 2002 no-mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny. Why is this little guy so special? For starters, let's break down what makes a penny worth anything. Most of the pennies you and I encounter are made in bulk, and while some of them might be rare, they're not exactly going to make you rich. We're talking about coins that don't stand out in any particular way, except for this one. You see, in 2002, there were a few pennies that were missing a mint mark. Now, typically, the mint mark on a penny tells you where it was produced. You've got your D for Denver and P for Philadelphia. But for some odd reason, a handful of these 2002 pennies came out of the Philadelphia Mint without any mint mark at all. These pennies weren't supposed to exist. And that, my friends, is where the value skyrockets. Now, I can already hear the skeptics in the back saying, "Oh, come on, a penny without a mint mark? How could that be worth $2.4 million?" Well, let me tell you, rarity is what makes this coin so valuable. When something doesn't fit the norm, people take notice. And in this case, collectors, and I mean serious collectors, are willing to fork out millions for a coin that shouldn't even exist in the first place. Imagine you were looking for an old, rare book at a garage sale. You're digging through dusty piles of novels, and suddenly you find an original first edition of The Great Gatsby sitting there for $1. That feeling? That's the excitement coin collectors get when they find one of these rare 2002 no-mint mark pennies. But let's not get too carried away here. Finding one of these coins is like finding a needle in a haystack. There's no guarantee that every 2002 penny you come across will be worth millions. It's the rarity and condition that makes these special. So, if you happen to find one of these pennies, take a good look at it and maybe, just maybe, it'll be worth more than just the 1 cent stamped on it. The condition of the coin plays a huge role in determining its value. If you happen to find a 2002 no-mint mark penny that's in pristine condition, think of it like finding a mint-condition baseball card from the 1950s, then you're sitting on a small fortune. Grading matters, and the higher the grade, the higher the value. A coin in top-notch condition could fetch you several $1,000,000. Speaking of condition, let me share a quick story. A while back, I went to a coin show and saw a table filled with hundreds of pennies. Most of them were worn down and scratched up, but I spotted one penny that looked different. It had that perfect shine, no scuffs, no scratches, just flawless. I asked the dealer about it, and he casually told me it was a 2002 no-mint mark penny. I couldn't believe it. But here's the kicker. The dealer didn't even realize the coin's value. He had it priced like a regular penny. I had to play it cool, of course, but inside, I was doing the victory dance. I ended up not buying it, long story. But the point is, sometimes rare finds are sitting right under our noses, and we don't even realize it. So, folks, check your pockets, your jars, your loose change, because you never know when that next $2.4 million penny might be waiting for you. The 2002 no-mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny is one of those rare finds in the world of coin collecting. Its value isn't just about the coin itself. It's about the story behind it, the rarity, and the fact that something so small can be worth such a massive amount of money. It's like the ultimate treasure hunt. And who doesn't love a good treasure hunt? Before you rush off to check your piggy bank, I've got one last piece of advice. If you're really serious about diving into the world of rare coins, hit that subscribe button, because I've got plenty more tips and tricks to help you spot those hidden treasures. Don't miss out on future videos where we'll explore even more coins worth big bucks, and trust me, you don't want to be the guy who missed out on the next big find. So, get out there, start looking through your loose change, and remember, you never know when the next $1 million penny is just a pocket away. I've got something today that might just make your jaw drop, or at least make you dig around in your couch cushions. What if I told you that a single penny, yes, that tiny little coin that we toss around like it's worthless, could be worth $2.5 million? Sounds like a story straight out of a treasure hunter's dream, right? Well, buckle up, because we're about to dive into the world of the 1968 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny, and trust me, it's not just any old penny. Before we get started, let me share a little secret with you. The coin you're about to learn about was actually hiding in plain sight, and there's a good chance it's still sitting in some of your coin jars, maybe even in that old change cup in the car. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you might just want to go on a wild hunt through your change to see if you're holding on to a small fortune. So let's jump into it. All right, let's first take a step back and talk about pennies for a second. We all know pennies are not exactly known for their big price tags. In fact, a lot of people might think they're just junk. We see pennies all the time, we toss them around, and most of us probably don't give them a second thought, right? But here's the thing. In the world of coin collecting, those little copper-clad coins could be worth way more than their face value if you know what you're looking for. Now, let's focus on the 1968 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny. Here's where the story gets wild. If you're familiar with the basics of U.S. coins, you'll know that since 1909, every penny has had the mint mark, a small letter, either D for Denver or S for San Francisco, indicating where it was made. But in 1968, something strange happened. The Philadelphia Mint decided to drop the mint mark on certain pennies, and that decision led to what we now call the 1968 no-mint mark penny, and it's pretty much the holy grail of pennies for collectors, you see. While most people were going about their business, thinking pennies were just coins for parking meters and tip jars, a few savvy collectors realized that these 1968 no-mint mark pennies were very, very rare. How rare? Well, not only are they tough to find, but they're also in extremely high demand among collectors. So, what makes this particular penny worth $2.5 million? Well, it all boils down to rarity, condition, and history. The 1968 no-mint mark penny was minted in Philadelphia, and for whatever reason, there's a small number of them that somehow didn't get the mint mark. Now, this isn't some wild conspiracy theory, but it's one of those freak occurrences that only happens in the world of numismatics. These little mistakes have become one of the most sought-after items for serious collectors, and because there are so few of them, the price has shot up into the stratosphere. The price of a 1968 no-mint mark penny can vary based on its condition, but the top-grade examples are fetching anywhere between $2 million and $2.5 million. That's no small change, especially when you consider the fact that you could have found one of these pennies in your pocket change, and no one would have thought twice about it. I remember when I first learned about rare coins like this. I had this old coin jar lying around the house. You know, the one where you throw your spare change after a long day of errands, only to forget about it until it overflows. One day, I decided to go through it, and to my surprise, I found some old coins I hadn't seen before. I was convinced I had just hit the jackpot. But after doing some research, I found out that most of them were just regular, run-of-the-mill coins. In that jar, there was a single penny that turned out to be worth a bit more than the others. Now, no, it wasn't a $2.5 million penny, but it was enough to make me realize just how much value can be hidden in the most unexpected places. And that's the beauty of coin collecting. You never know what you're going to find in that pile of change. If I hadn't taken the time to really understand what I was looking at, I could have easily missed it. So, here's the takeaway, guys. If you're one of those people who scoffs at pennies, thinking they're just pocket lint, I'm here to tell you that you might want to think again. The 1968 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny is living proof that even the smallest coins can hide massive value. And who knows? That old jar of change sitting on your shelf might just hold the next $1 million find. If you learned something new today, and you're pumped to dig through your own stash of coins, hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss out on more tips, tricks, and hidden treasures like this. Trust me, the more you know, the more you could be holding on to in your own pockets. And hey, if you find that elusive 1968 no mint mark penny, don't forget to let me know. I'll be over here trying to convince my kids that I was the one who found the first one, and I'll be dreaming about my own coin fortune. Until next time, happy hunting and keep your eyes peeled. You never know what rare treasures you might be sitting on. All right, fellas, let me paint a picture for you. Imagine you're digging through your spare change jar, looking for loose coins to buy a coffee or maybe something to snack on. But then, bam, you pull out a coin that could be worth a small fortune. No, I'm not talking about some rare gold coin from ancient Rome. I'm talking about something much closer to home. A 1978 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny worth $2.60 million. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Wait a minute, a penny? You're telling me a penny could be worth millions? Yep, you heard that right. In this video, we're going to break down exactly why this coin could be sitting in your collection, just waiting to make you a small fortune. But before we dive in, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, because you're not going to want to miss out on all the tips I've got for you on coins worth serious money. Trust me, you'll want to stick around for this one. The 1978 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny. The first question you're probably asking is, why in the world would a penny from 1978 be worth millions? Good question, and it's one I'll answer right now. See, most of the pennies minted in 1978 have a mint mark on them. That little D or S tells you where the coin was made, either in Denver or in San Francisco. But here's where it gets interesting. The 1978 no mint mark penny is a rarity. How rare? Well, only a handful of them have been discovered so far, making them highly sought after by collectors. And I mean seriously sought after. A 1978 no mint mark penny can fetch up to $2.6 million in today's market. Why does this particular penny have such a high value? The answer lies in a mix of factors, but the biggest reason is that the mint didn't intentionally leave out the mint mark. It was actually a mistake, a small oversight in the manufacturing process. And as with anything that's rare, people love it more when it's hard to find. Check for the mint mark, or rather, the lack of it. If there's no D or S near Abraham Lincoln's shoulder, you might just be holding a gold mine. I'd recommend taking it to a professional coin dealer for a proper evaluation. But that's the basic test. Let me take a minute to share a little story here. A few years ago, I found myself in a similar situation, though not quite as dramatic. I was going through a box of old coins I inherited from my grandfather. It was mostly just a bunch of nickels, dimes, and some random quarters, nothing special. But as I was about to toss a 1964 penny back into the box, I noticed something odd. It looked shiny? Maybe it had been polished? I wasn't sure. Turns out that shiny penny was actually a rare variety. A 1964 that was mistakenly struck on a copper planchet instead of the typical brass. Long story short, that penny ended up being worth a few $100. I was shocked. And that experience is exactly why I want to emphasize how important it is to pay attention to your coins. You never know what you might be sitting on. Back to the 1978 no mint mark penny, though. The thing that makes this coin so valuable is its scarcity. Minting mistakes like this don't happen every day. In fact, it's extremely rare for such a specific error to occur, which is why collectors go nuts over these coins. They're chasing after that perfect, rare piece that could be worth an insane amount of money. That it's not just the 1978 no mint mark penny that could be worth a ton of cash. There are a lot of other pennies and coins from certain years that are fetching top dollar. I've covered some of them in previous videos, so be sure to check those out after you finish this one. The 1978 penny. So how do you cash in on one of these rare coins if you find it? Well, here's where the fun begins. The market for rare coins is always changing. You could sell it to a collector, auction house, or through a coin dealer, and prices are often determined by the condition of the coin, how many others are available, and the current demand. Some collectors are willing to pay astronomical amounts for a piece of history, and if that's your lucky find, well, let's just say you could be walking away with a substantial chunk of change. So there you have it. A little coin worth just 1 cent could potentially be worth millions. But it all comes down to being able to spot the rare, valuable coins hiding in plain sight. Just like my story about that 1964 penny, you never know what might be sitting in your collection, waiting to change your life. If you learned something new today, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. You'll get more tips and tricks about coins that could make you a lot of money. Who knows, Your next lucky find could be worth more than you ever imagined. And hey, before I sign off, let me know in the comments if you've ever found a rare coin, or if you have any tips for fellow collectors. We're all in this coin hunting game together, and I love hearing your stories.